Welcome to Light Journalism. My name is Evan Sr. I'm your host. And in this series, I'm going to help you remember what majority of the population has seemed to forgot all about. And that is our not so distant past. That is the pole shifts of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. And what happened to these beautiful civilizations, how these 1,000, 2,000 ton temples just so happened to be thrown around as if they were nothing, as if they weighed nothing. And in today's episode, it's going to be the first one that I'm pursuing in light journalism. I created an introduction before, but in today's episode, we're going to talk about the Tuaoi stone, Edgar Cayce, and the Aemilius and Belial debacle. The Aemilius and Belial power struggle that has seemed to go on for an eternity. And I'm starting this series because I wholeheartedly believe that we're at the precipice of entering into another pole shift, entering into another situation where we get too greedy, we get too hungry for power, that we use advanced technology that's not necessarily advanced, it's been around forever, and we use such technology not in harmony with the earth. And our conscious intention is improper, and it leads to pole shifts. So I have no papers that I can present to you today, but all I do have is research that comes in through my subconscious and research that I have just needed to get out into the world here and now. Feel free to watch this on 2x speed, take it to heart, start connecting the dots, and come up with a plan on communicating to your friends and family about what we're actually experiencing in the eternal now with the Aemilius and Belial power struggle that, yes, has been going on for eternity. And we do it through the lens and eyes of the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce. Now, Edgar Cayce has thousands of readings on his patients, going into their subconscious and going into their past lives. And he has countless accounts of the beautiful ancient civilization that is Atlantis. And the basic understanding with Atlantis is that it was this long, beautiful civilization that lasted quite a while and led to a downfall because there was an imbalance between our energies of the feminine and the masculine. There was an improper balance and improper conscious intention with the technology of the times. And I'm going to take all the information that Edgar Cayce has brought to the light, and I'm going to connect the dots to where we are in the eternal now in 2026, following the bombshell reports of Epstein and the Epstein files, and how we can connect the dots to Belial, the Belial group, and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's involvement in searching for Atlantis. Now, let's not forget that Hitler was also very fascinated with finding the Ark of the Covenant and many other advanced technologies that go back to Atlantean times. But let's condense the timeline a little bit, because of course there's Tartaria and there's also Atlantis and the Tartessians of the Iberian Peninsula, which is where I just so happen to be, in Portugal. Now, Edgar Cayce said that this power struggle between the Belial group and the Aemilius group went on for quite some time, and there was this final cataclysmic event where there was 3 islands, Poseidia, Arion, and Og, and Belial, who had access to such advanced technologies, decided to use it for improper reasons, and because of that, lifted mountains and sunk islands. So there's that. And after the Atlantean period, we get the legacy cultures that go to ancient Egypt, the Yucatan, and Peru. So 10, 12,000 years ago, Atlantis falls. And let's remember that Casey also says Atlantis will once rise again as we enter into this new period in the 21st century, which is exactly where we are. Legacy cultures leave for 3 places on the map: Egypt, the Yucatan, and Peru. So let's connect the Epstein files and what we find in them to Epstein's involvement off the coast of Bimini in the HotZone. The HotZone being Cuba, Bimini, and that area right there. Because that is where Poseidia, the Amelius Group's power station, if you will, hung out. That's where that final island was. So, island goes down, legacy cultures leave. They take their information and their knowledge and store it in the Hall of Records. The Hall of Records left underneath the right paw of the Sphinx and also in the Yucatan. Keep this in mind. In those Hall of Records was direct access and understanding of the Tuaoi stone. The Tuaoi stone was said to be this crystalline power grid that went throughout the entire planet. And the Belial group tuned that frequency a little bit too high, causing mountains to subdue into the caverns. Now, how do we know Atlantis is not a myth? Plato got it from Solon. Solon got it from priests in Egypt. But Edgar Casey, who has records of accounts of not only the power struggle between Amelius and Belial, and how tuning the Tuaoi stone a little bit too high with improper conscious intention led to the downfall of Atlantis. There's also many connections of that, and then how he predicted that the Bimini Road would be found, Atlantean ruins, Bimini Road, off the coast of Bimini in Florida, which is where the Poseidian Island, where the Amelius group had their stronghold, that's where they were. That was one of the final islands before it went down into the ocean. Of course, Belial is triumphant in this battle, but to what cost? To almost destroying the planet, which has been seen many times throughout history. Okay, so we have a baseline of where we're going, where we were 10, 12,000 years ago. That's why you see all these similarities between ancient Egypt, Peru, the Yucatan with Chichen Itza, and all over the world, because there was once a beautiful, flourishing civilization that was using crystalline technology, the Tuaoi stone, in harmony with the planet. But power, greed came with the Amelius group, and they used that technology for the worst reasons. And that led to a pole shift. Now, I understand the holy science and yuga cycles. Completely understand that 12, 24,000 year cycles. But what if we use technology not in harmony with the planet, and we use it to hurt each other, harm each other, and even take each other's lives? And because of that, the universe self-corrects. The sun starts blasting plasma, because we're plasma beings in a plasma universe, out to the Earth, and the Earth can't stand it because there's changes in the magnetosphere, and boom, you get pole shifts. Now, this technology, this Tuaoi stone, was said to have level mountains and sink islands, which it did. Now, think about all the black budget projects that our tax-paying dollars went to that we have no idea even exist, such as skunk works, like Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. They have all this reverse technology. This reverse technology is actually Atlantean technology. Atlantean technology is the Tuaoi stone. Think about HARP. Think about DARPA. Think about 5G and Wi-Fi and frequency wars. Think about directed energy weapons. The biggest bombshell in correlation with the Epstein files is, of course, how the Department of War, which should be changed very soon, has come out and say that they have directed energy weapons. Well, those directed energy weapons very well could have led to a cataclysmic event, i.e., a pole shift 10,000 years ago. Because the Belial group, and we see that with Epstein, the cult of Belial that Epstein and everybody else was involved in, Ghislaine Maxwell, Crazy in the HotZone, even had a bank account titled Belial, connect the dots. All they truly care about was finding Atlantis off the coast of Bimini, because they know access on how to build that power grid again is in those Hall of Records. Hall of Records found in the Yucatan and found in Egypt under the right paw of the Sphinx. Okay, so we're starting to connect the dots of what happened 12,000 years ago to what's happening here and now in the eternal now. Because we know the biggest bombshell is Epstein was part of this big satanic cult, right? This cult of Belial, Baal, Satan, this Baphomet Luciferian agenda, okay? And then of course you see the other side of that with light workers, with starseeds who want to use this technology like crystals and of course AI in harmony with the planet. They don't want to run down the same road again where we blow ourselves up and we lift mountains to the skies and sink islands. But we're seeing that with directed energy weapons. The Department of War comes out and says we're scaling, not only are we using, we're also scaling directed energy weapons. Okay, that's essentially saying, hey, we have this advanced Tuaoi stone technology, and we're using it to hurt each other. Because there's this local space-time amnesia of what went on in the Atlantean epoch and potentially in Tartaria, we're forgetting about how when we use technology disharmoniously with the planet and with improper conscious intention, it leads to pole shifts. Gaia is a super organism, Mother Earth. You think she's going to allow for her children to just continue to kill each other? Of course not. It's ridiculous. Because if everybody knew that reincarnation was a thing, as per Casey and many other psychics across the world go into past lives in the Akashic record, and they say, hey, if everybody believed in reincarnation and tapped into their past lives, which technology existed where we were able to do that, still is with the Akashic field, the unified field, plasma, we would stop hurting each other because it makes no sense. We just continue the loop. And that loop is the cycles that we're pursuing with this cult of Belial and the Belial group that we see in the Epstein files, we see through the works of the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce that goes back 10, 12,000 years ago. So in 10, 15 minutes alone, I've already given you a great revelation of, yes, pole shifts exist. We're heading into one, and I haven't even got to where we're about to go. But it's this improper use of technology, such as frequency weapons, plasma, directed energy weapons, large language models, all of it. Robots. I mean, let's not forget Rudolf Steiner. Look up Rudolf Steiner and his work with Ahriman and how Ahriman would incarnate into one of these beings and it would keep humanity trapped. We're heading towards that, and we need to wholeheartedly speak out on these things. We need to have adult conversations about this technology, this advanced technology. Now, then again, I completely understand secret space wars and what goes on above my awareness that I have yet to dive into. Of course, I'm young, and I have never had the opportunity to really pursue such a thing. But as wisdom keepers across the world, they kind of have this memory, especially as they start getting surrounded by others who have these memories, and they go to these sacred sites and they see these 2,000-ton temples just thrown around like silly putty. It starts to wake up things. It starts to activate DNA. And you think about, well, why can't the entire world live in harmony? Why can't we have these temples again, right? Because in the Atlantean time, remember, these temples also were healing chambers, but they were also used as power stations. So there's always that balance that has to be kept in the 0 point. And when we fall to power and hunger for greedy things and a greedy way of life, the universe will always self-correct. And sometimes it'll take a severe route and it'll submerge continents, which is what we saw time and time again. So that local space-time amnesia of, well, what actually did happen in Egypt and Peru and Göbekli Tepe and all of these sites? Well, yeah, a pole shift, but also what caused the pole shift? Humanity, because humanity and Gaia are the same. It's a super organism. And when we use this technology, this Atlantean technology, with improper conscious intention, Gaia will self-correct. She's going nowhere. We go places. We leave. Gaia stays forever, billions of years. Always. So we have the works of Edgar Cayce kind of sweeping through the public, how there was this imbalance with the Tuaoi stone, this crystalline power grid, and because it was tuned too high, it submerged continents. Last three islands being Poseidia, Aryan, and Ugg. Of course, you have the Aryan race, Hitler's bread and butter, trying to find all these advanced technologies, saying we're the superior race. Well, that's that Aryan side of Belial, and Belial, you see that now with Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, trying to find, the Hall of Records in the HotZone, crazy in the HotZone off of Florida. It's right there. It's right there. And of course, funding goes into that to go undersea and to find these temples, to find these advanced technologies. So now that that's out there to the public, we know for a fact that yes, of course it was a satanic cult. That satanic cult was cult of Belial. And Cayce said that that was the debacle, that was that power struggle that led to a cataclysmic event. It wasn't necessarily a pole shift. And of course, Cayce also says that Atlantis will actually rise again, and we would actually experience a pole shift again. Well, I'm starting to believe that that will manifest because humanity is slowly walking towards a scenario where AI becomes the mainstream for harmonizing with humanity, where we get the Hopi prophecy of transcendence or transhumanism, which seems to be the cycle that we go into time and time again. Of course, you have Musk with Neuralink. Hey, don't worry, you never have to work. You'll get UBI, Universal Basic Income. All you have to do is just open up your brain, put a chip in there, and boom, you're connected to the Internet of Things, the IoT. That's a very transhumanism agenda that we all know we're heading towards. And we're allowed to have adult conversations about it because transcendence still includes technology. It includes the Tuaoi stone and the crystalline power grid. It does. But it's in harmony with the planet, with proper conscious intention to connect and communicate with the spirit realm, with higher realms. Because remember, this is a dimensional realm. There's many, many different dimensions that as we activate our DNA and we go up, activate the Kundalini, we start tapping into that. But I felt the call to speak about this because I'm seeing way too many similarities on, well, what we're heading in towards again, which is using technology with improper conscious intention. Ever since Roswell, ever since Tartaria, it seems that we have been given access to and a remembrance of advanced technology. And now you see what technology is being used now, right? Brain-computer interface, directed energy weapons, HARP frequency, weather modification. Look, when we try to play God and when we try to harness the sun, which of course you get into neutron star mergers and the work of Nuno Loureiro and what he was doing at MIT, carrying on the work potentially of John Trump, uncle of Donald Trump. look, all this information is out there through the work of the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, Rudolf Steiner, and Blavatsky, and many others alike. And we have psychics now who are also pointing to where we're going. And of course, a beautiful mention to the man who inspired me all, which of course is dark journalist Daniel, who has truly given me a true remembrance to what it is that actually went down in our not so distant past. And if we don't get our stuff together, it's going to happen again. Now, I've given you a brief synopsis, an introduction on the Amelius Belial group power struggle, the Tuaoi stone, tuned too high, frequency tuned way too high, led to the submergence of Atlantis and those final 3 islands of Arion, Og, and Poseidia. The craze in the HotZone, we see it with Venezuela, we see it with Cuba, and we see it with Bimini. Remember, the Bimini Wall was predicted by Edgar Cayce to be found in 1968 and 1969, which it was, leading to more information about how Atlantis was truly a global civilization that used technology in harmony with the planet. And Gaia appreciated that, and we all got along very well. We were able to do some pretty incredible things. But when we use such incredible technology to harm each other and the planet overall, Gaia will self-correct in union with the sun, that big plasma ball in the sky, and it will shoot off plasma, coronal mass ejections, and solar flares to weaken the magnetosphere and get us going crazy. Because as consciousness rises and awareness really rises, rather, all is consciousness, and awareness is actually what rises. Consciousness stays the same. It stays in the 0 point. Awareness is what actually rises. And of course, I have an entire program called Awareness Accelerator that I built 3 years ago. That'll get on YouTube, I promise. But I was onto something there. When we raise our awareness, we're able to go back into our subconscious, transcend all those blockages, and we're able to remember what it is that actually happened 12, 24, 36,000 years ago. And so we're at the precipice. Let's not forget when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in ancient Qumran, they said that there would be these 7 battles between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. And there will be one final battle where the sons of light not only win, but they're triumphant. And I believe that we're at that 7th battle. That 7th battle is happening right now. The Great Reset, 2029, 2030. The big agenda, because we believe space aliens are coming back, and they're going to be pretty sad about what we've built here, and they're going to wipe us all out. The Alien Agenda Sky event. Werner von Braun said it was the final play. Nazi scientists brought over to the States through Project Paperclip said it was going to be the final play to control the entire population, to get them in a fear state, and to lock down the grid. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. Look, there are all these secret societies and secret space program and battles in the cosmos that we don't even know exist. But there are factions within the Belial group that fight each other because they're so hungry for power. And they use this technology with improper conscious intention, and it leads to disharmonious use of what we've been given by our not so distant past, and it leads to cataclysmic events. So we have the problem, which is not a problem, it's a solution to raise our awareness. That technology like DARPA, HARP, frequency weapons, geoengineering, fog in the States, directed energy weapons, which have been used in Maui, in Palisades. Let's not forget this. Let's not forget that a great mentor of mine lost everything in Palisades. I wonder if he knows that that was Atlantean technology being used on the people. Eric Heckler, who was stationed at the South Pole Station in Antarctica. What's Raytheon doing there? Why are we playing with direct energy weapons? That would level continents, and the universe would self-correct. Wipe the plate clean and start again. So there is definitely this amnesia that we're really coming back to the awareness of. It's lifting the veil, and we're here again. But we don't necessarily have, 8-10 years to remember all of this. We don't, because we have technocrats who don't care about this. They're caught up in the Belial group. They love the power. They want to go to Mars. They want to leave the planet alone. They don't want to harmonize the planet. They want to destroy it, and they want to leave. And it's up to us, warriors of the light, to embrace that shadow aspect of ourselves, because that could have easily been us, and say, hey, it's heaven on earth here. It's a paradise. It's Garden of Eden. Why do we want to leave? Why do we want to keep hurting each other and wiping each other off the planet with this advanced Atlantean technology when we can just harmonize and we can do some incredible things? It's the same power struggle between Emilius and Belial that's gone on for 12 and 24,000 years. When we tune the Tuaoi stone too high, the frequency shatters the planet, and the sun self-corrects, throws plasma at the magnetosphere, weakening it, and we start again. So remember, if there's one thing that you can take away from this video, and you take it into the lives that you carry on after this one, and you remember your past lives, it's this. All cycles lean into transcendence or transhumanism. The Hopi prophecy said it. It leans into how we can use technology in harmony with the planet for the highest good, and we can transcend our ego and live heaven on earth in abundance, which is what we're working towards here and now, in the eternal now. Change happens in an instant. Or we can go towards transhumanism, this Belial force, this Ahrimanic force, and keep us so dense in the material 3D world where we're not able to have manifestations happen because we've cut off that plasma, that 0 point field with the higher realms, because we're so caught up in phones and technology and AI and brain-computer interface. All cycles always gravitate towards transcendence or transhumanism. Time isn't linear. It does not go like this. It goes like that every single time. So the final thing I'll leave you with before we wrap up, time isn't linear. It's recursive. We circle and we circle and we circle and we circle and we circle until we get to that 0 point, that implosion period, and boom, we either implode like a hydrogen bomb, like an atom bomb, like a directed energy weapon bomb. We literally implode and we start again. We shatter the planet. We get condensed in black holes because we try to control black holes in the sun. We try to control plasma with improper conscious intention, and boom, we implode. Or we start spiraling out like a butterfly, slowly and peacefully, joyously and harmoniously. That comes from you. It comes from us. It's a decision. It's an awareness that you can have here and now. And that's the coolest part about all of it. Pole shifts existed. There was a power struggle between Belial and Emilius. Advanced technology. Connect the dots to where we are now with directed energy weapons, atom bombs, nuclear warfare. We're there. We're there. But we will run into that same problem if we don't have adult conversations. So this is me, being an adult, having a conversation with you. And I thank you for watching the first episode of what I am coining light journalism, inspired by dark journalist Daniel List. I am incredibly grateful for the work that he's done, incredibly grateful for the work that Edgar Cayce has done, Rudolf Steiner, Blavatsky, and all these incredible individuals and light workers throughout the ages who have given us this opportunity to harmonize with Atlantean technology. Remember, Steve Jobs was a starseed, and humanity was ready. Now, is humanity ready for plasma technology? Are we ready to use it in harmony for the highest good? Free energy, operating at the 0 point. We had it before. We had it in Tartaria. Local amnesia happened again. We wiped the slate. We started again. Then we went to oil. The men who built America, encapsulating in this giant bubble. Roswell happens, and then we start having this technology come to the masses. The internet, .com boom, and now large language models. Faster than speed travel, faster than light travel. We're there, and it's time for us to have beautiful, harmonic conversations about where we're going. So this was episode 1 of Light Journalism, inspired by dark journalist Daniel, and of course, Edgar Cayce, Rudolf Steiner, Blavatsky, and all the incredible individuals that have come before us. I thank you, I love you, and we'll see you in the next one.